Captain Daniel Foster stood in the observation deck of the diplomatic station and watched the empty space where a colony used to be. 3 weeks had passed since the Soren Dominion attacked Kepler-4 52b, and still nothing had changed. The colony had been home to 8,000 humans. Now there were no humans left there at all. The Galactic Council had offered no justice. They had offered no compensation. They had offered nothing except a cold statement that the Soren Dominion had used the colony for development purposes, and that humans needed to accept this loss as part of living in a large galaxy. The Council's message had been clear. Humans did not matter enough to fight for. Foster was a man of discipline. He had spent 30 years in Earth's military, and he understood the weight of his position. As commander of the human diplomatic station, he was supposed to represent peace and cooperation. He was supposed to work within the systems the galaxy had built. But those systems were breaking his people, and Foster knew it. Behind him, the door slid open. Ambassador Patricia Morton walked in, her face tight with anger that she could not hide. She had just come from another council meeting, and Foster could see from her eyes that it had gone poorly. They rejected the compensation claim, Patricia said, without waiting for Foster to ask. They rejected it completely. The council voted 8-1 against us. Even Kale abstained instead of supporting our position. Foster turned from the window. The vote count doesn't surprise me anymore. What did they say this time? That humans are young in space and need to learn how the universe actually works. That we are overreacting to a simple military action. Patricia moved to stand beside Foster at the window. They said the attack on Kepler 452b was a justified response to human expansion into space that the Council had not yet approved. We had permission, Foster said quietly. The colony agreement was signed by the Council itself. They don't care about what they signed, Patricia replied. She was trying to keep her voice level, but anger pushed through anyway. They never cared. We have been signing agreements with them for 20 years, and every year they break the ones that do not benefit them. Foster knew this was true. The human race had been expanding into space for only 70 years, far newer than most of the civilizations in the galaxy. The older races had made the rules long before humans arrived, and those rules had been designed to keep new species small and weak. Every human colony that grew too successful faced obstacles. Every human trade agreement somehow favored the other species. Every human voice in council meetings was ignored or talked down, and when humans objected, the council simply took action. The attack on Kepler 452b was not the first colony they had destroyed. It was just the largest, and it had finally pushed Foster to the breaking point. I sent a message to Earth Command today, Foster told her. I included everything. All the broken treaties, all the destroyed colonies, all the instances where the Council ignored our rights. I told them we cannot continue this way. Patricia looked at him with surprise. What did Earth Command respond? I just sent it 6 hours ago. Response will take time. Foster turned back to the window. The silence stretched between them. 3 days later, Foster received a secure message from the office of Earth's president. The message contained only one line: continue diplomatic efforts, but prepare for possibility of military response. Full authorization coming soon. Foster shared the message with Patricia and their closest staff. No one was surprised. Everyone in the diplomatic station had been waiting for this moment. The question was not if humanity would fight back, but when, a week after that, another message came. This time, it was from General Marcus Cole, the head of Earth's military. The message was longer and contained specifications. Humans needed to prepare. Ships needed to be ready. Defensive positions needed to be established. Earth was taking this seriously. Foster began moving quietly. He could not announce anything, but he could position things. The diplomatic station had defensive systems that he could quietly activate. He could move resources around. He could prepare without making it obvious that preparation was happening. Then the council demanded more colonies. The message came through official channels. The Vreth, the Sarn Dominion, and 3 other galactic powers had decided that humans needed to surrender 3 additional colonies for scientific study and resource development. The council gave humans 30 days to comply. Foster read the message twice. Then he deleted it from official records and sent a direct message to Earth Command. They are pushing us hard. This is not negotiation. This is a test to see how far they can go. The response came within hours. It was not from General Cole. It was from President Victoria Harris herself. 3 words: do not comply. Prepare. On the 20th day of the 30-day ultimatum, Foster received a final message from Earth. It contained orders for every human commander, every military officer, every diplomatic representative, and every colony leader across known space. The orders were simple and clear. Humanity was going to war. Foster sat alone in his quarters and read the declaration that would be broadcast to the entire galaxy in 5 days. It listed every broken treaty, every destroyed colony, every instance of disrespect and theft. It named the specific crimes of the Sorn Dominion, the Vreth's shameful silence, and the Council's systematic betrayal of human rights. The declaration ended with a single statement: the human race no longer accepts oppression. From this day forward, humans will defend their territory, reclaim their colonies, and establish ourselves as equals in this galaxy. Any species that stands in our way will face our full response. Foster understood what was about to happen. The galaxy thought humans were weak because humans had been peaceful. The galaxy had no idea that Earth had been building strength in secret, that human ships had been designed with new weapons, that human strategies had been studied for decades. In 5 days, the entire galactic order would change. And Foster knew the galaxy would finally learn what happens when you push a species that has survived on a brutal world like Earth and push them too far. He looked out at the stars and felt something he had not felt in years. Hope that justice was finally coming. The broadcast began at 0000 hours, Greenwich Mean Time. Every human outpost in space received the signal. Every colony, every ship, every station turned their communication systems to the same frequency. Even people on Earth in every time zone watched as President Victoria Harris appeared on screens across the galaxy. Harris was a woman of 62 years. She had been a military officer herself before becoming a politician. She did not wear fine clothes or stand in a fancy room. She stood in simple military uniform in Earth Command Center, with the flag of the United Nations behind her. I am addressing every human across this galaxy and every other species that shares this space, Harris began. Today, the human race declares war on those who have oppressed us. The words hung in the air. In 100 council chambers and military stations, alien species froze in shock. War was not how young species behaved. War meant the humans were serious. War meant humans believed they could actually win. Harris spoke for 40 minutes without stopping. She listed the Kepler 452b attack. She named the dates of destroyed colonies. She read the names of council members who had voted against human interests. She displayed treaties that had been broken. She showed records of attacks that the council had ignored. The galaxy told us to accept our place as a weak species, Harris said. Her voice was controlled but full of power. The galaxy told us to be grateful for the small amount of respect they gave us. The galaxy told us that we should not resist. Today, I tell the galaxy that those days are finished. She turned to face the camera directly. I am ordering every human military unit to take control of human territory. I am ordering the retrieval of all human colonies that were taken from us. I am ordering every human soldier, pilot, and commander to defend our people against any force that tries to stop us. This is not a request for negotiation. This is a declaration that humanity will be respected or humanity will take what is ours by force. Then General Marcus Cole appeared. Cole was a massive man with gray hair and the bearing of someone who had made hard decisions his entire life. He showed video recordings of human ships, human weapon systems, and human military formations that made alien analysts gasp. "We have been preparing for this moment for many years," Cole announced. "While other species believed we were weak, we studied. We learned. We built. Today, every human colony will be defended. Today, every human soldier is authorized to fight. Today, the galaxy learns that humans are not weak." The presentation showed three-dimensional maps of human battle strategies. It showed that humans had been planning this for longer than anyone had realized. It showed that Earth had hidden its true military capability while pretending to be peaceful. A Sorn Dominion. General watched the broadcast from his command ship and realized his mistake. The humans had not been weak. Humans had been patient. They had been waiting. They had been preparing. Now the waiting was finished. The Galactic Council tried to respond. Grand Counselor Vex, who had led the Council for 40 years, demanded that humans stand down. He threatened consequences. He promised that the combined forces of the galaxy would crush humanity in weeks. But even as Vex made his threats, military units across known space were moving. Human ships that had been positioned carefully were now moving openly. Colonies that had looked vulnerable were revealing defensive systems that had been hidden for years. Engineers and soldiers who had been waiting for this moment began their work. Within hours, the first battle occurred. A human fleet intercepted a Sorn Dominion military column that was moving toward a human colony. The battle lasted 43 minutes. When it was finished, 3 Sorn Dominion battlecruisers were destroyed, and the human fleet had not lost a single ship. News of the victory spread fast through the galaxy. Alien species that had thought humans were easy targets now began to wonder if they had made a serious mistake. Military analysts studied the battle recordings and saw something that frightened them. The human tactics were intelligent. The human weapons were more advanced than anyone had believed. And the human soldiers showed no fear. In the Vreth Command Center, Fleet Admiral Ishara watched the video of the battle 3 times. She could see where the human commander had predicted the Sorn Dominion's movements. She could see how the human ships had used superior speed and coordination to win. She could see that the humans had not fought with anger, but with cold military precision. She turned to the officer beside her. "The humans are not angry. Angry species make mistakes. These humans are calculating. Send a message to all Vreth units. Be very careful. We are dealing with something far more dangerous than we believed." On Earth, President Harris received confirmation that the first battle was a complete human victory. She sat in the command center and felt the weight of the decision she had made. There was no going back now. Humanity had drawn its line in the sand. Either humans would win this war, or humanity would lose everything. But Harris did not feel afraid. She felt resolved. She had made the decision, and now every human would follow. Every soldier would fight. Every colony would contribute. Every human in the galaxy would remember this moment as the day they finally stood up and refused to be slaves. The war had begun. Commander Lisa Patterson stood on the bridge of the human carrier ship Constellation and watched the enemy fleet approach. 3 Vreth battleships and 12 support vessels were coming toward the disputed colony of New Seattle. Patterson had only 1 carrier, 2 destroyers, and 1 support ship. On paper, the enemy had the advantage, but Patterson had studied alien tactics for 15 years. She knew that the Vreth always moved in formation. She knew that their weapons had a specific range and firing pattern. She knew that their ships were larger and more heavily armored. But they were also slower to turn and slower to adapt. She also knew something that the Wrath did not know about themselves. They were predictable. Weapons team. Plot intercept course, Patterson ordered. I want those support vessels separated from the main group. Her tactical officer, Lieutenant James Morgan, moved quickly. The human ships changed course with a grace that the larger Wrath vessels could not match. Within minutes, the first Wrath support ship found itself alone, with 2 human destroyers closing in fast. The Wrath captain tried to flee, but human missiles were already in the air. The support ship took 3 direct hits and exploded. The other Wrath vessels tried to help, but by then, Patterson's ships had already moved to the next target. The battle lasted 2 hours. By the end, the Wrath had lost 2 battleships, 4 support vessels, and were running at full speed toward open space. The Constellation and its escort vessels had not been seriously damaged. Reports of the victory reached Earth within hours. General Cole reviewed the battle tactics and understood what had happened. Patterson had not fought with more power. She had fought with intelligence. She had turned a disadvantage into a victory through planning and understanding her enemy. At the New Seattle colony, the human defenders began celebrating. The Wrath had been coming to take the colony, and now the Wrath were running. The families in the colony that had been prepared to defend their homes now understood that Earth Command had sent ships to save them. Across the galaxy, similar battles were happening. In Sector 7, Wing Captain Paul Rivera led a group of human fighter ships against a Soran Dominion fleet. Rivera had no armor protection in his small fighter. One good hit would kill him, but he did not hesitate. He dove toward the enemy formation, firing as he went. The Soran pilots expected human fighters to be slow and weak. Instead, they found human ships that turned sharply, fired accurately, and moved in patterns that made no sense according to Soran military doctrine. Rivera destroyed 2 enemy fighters before the Soran even realized what was happening. By the time the Soran coordinated a response, Rivera had killed 4 more enemy pilots and damaged 3 other Soran ships. The Soran fighters broke formation and scattered. When they reorganized, they found that Rivera and his human squadron had already left the area. On the ground, humans were fighting different kinds of battles. At the colony of New Earth, Commander David Park led human soldiers against alien occupation forces. The aliens had superior weapons and superior numbers. But Park's soldiers had something more valuable. They understood that they were fighting for their homes and their families. When one human soldier was hit, the others did not freeze in fear. They did not break and run. They moved forward. They supported each other. They fought with a determination that the alien forces had never encountered before. The aliens had been trained to fight other aliens. They had never fought humans. The occupation force fell back. Then they surrendered. When they did, something unexpected happened. The human soldiers did not execute them. They provided medical care. They offered them water. They treated them as people who had been following orders, not as evil invaders. News of human mercy spread as fast as news of human victories. Alien species in the galaxy began to understand that humans were not trying to conquer the galaxy. Humans were trying to survive. Humans were trying to establish justice. Humans were trying to be treated with respect. Military analysts from 3 different species reached the same conclusion. Humans had been studying alien tactics for years. Humans had prepared for this war with incredible detail. Humans had advantages that no one had realized they possessed. Engineer Supervisor Donna Wright worked in a human shipyard orbiting Mars. Her job was to repair and upgrade human military vessels. Before the war, her work had been routine. Now, Ships came in damaged and left again fully repaired within days. Wright's team worked without stopping. She watched damaged human fighters return from battles and saw the determination in the pilots' faces. She heard soldiers tell stories of human victories that seemed impossible. She understood that her work building and repairing ships was just as important as the battles themselves. A human ship that Wright's team had repaired was damaged again in a battle near the Kepler sector. The pilot managed to limp back to the shipyard. Wright and her team worked through the night, and by morning the ship was ready to fight again. The pilot, a young woman named Captain Susan Cole, stopped by the shipyard before leaving. "Thank you," Cole said simply. "Your work saved my crew's lives." Wright nodded. "Go finish this war." The victories continued. Week after week, human military forces pushed the enemy back. The Sarn Dominion agreed to stop fighting after 10 weeks of continuous losses. The Vreth, seeing which way the war was going, began negotiating for peace. Even the more distant alien powers started asking what kind of agreement they could make with humanity. But the most shocking discovery came when military analysts began studying human weapons and tactics more carefully. They realized that the human military technology was far more advanced than anyone had believed. They realized that humans had been designing these weapons for decades in secret, while the galaxy had dismissed them as weak. One alien general said it in a meeting with his boys. "Commanders, we watched them as children playing with toys. We never realized they were sharpening swords." The galaxy had made a catastrophic mistake. Now everyone would have to pay the price for that mistake. Grand Counselor Vex sat in the council chamber and read the latest military reports. The news was terrible. The Sarn Dominion had lost 50% of its active fleet. The Vreth had lost 30% of theirs. Human forces had taken back every colony that had been stolen from them, and now they were asking for reparations. Vex was a being who had lived for 200 years. He had seen wars before. He had seen species rise and fall. But he had never seen anything like this. The humans were not just winning battles. They were changing the entire nature of warfare. "Show me the analysis again." Vex commanded his military advisors that an ancient alien general named Korath step forward. Korath had fought in 17 different wars. He had studied military strategy his entire life. Now he looked deeply troubled. "The humans," Korath began slowly, "are not using superior numbers. They are not using superior firepower in most cases. They are using superior intelligence, superior planning, and superior adaptability." "Explain," Vex demanded. "Every human military operation has been studied before it happened. The humans understand our tactics better than we understand our own tactics. They predict our movements. They prepare for our responses. And most importantly, they learn from every battle and adjust their strategy for the next one." Korath moved closer to Vex. "I have studied the data very carefully. The humans have been preparing for this war for at least 20 years, possibly longer. They have studied all of our military doctrines. They have designed weapons specifically to counter our weapons. They have planned for every scenario that we can imagine. How is this possible?" Vex demanded. "They are young in space. They may be young in space, but they are not young as a species," another advisor said. Her name was Ishara, and she led the Vreth military forces. "The human homeworld is harsh. The humans come from a planet where survival is difficult. They have been overcoming challenges since before they discovered fire. They were born warriors." Vex stood and looked out at the galactic map displayed in the center of the council chamber. Human territory, once small and insignificant, now controlled major sections of space. Human colonies, once vulnerable, now had defensive systems that rivaled the defenses of much older species. "We thought they were weak because they did not fight," Vex said finally. "We were wrong," Ishara agreed. We thought they were weak because they were peaceful. We did not understand that they were building strength. We did not understand that they were learning. We did not understand that they were waiting for us to push too far. A young Soren commander named Vex spoke up. How do we stop them? Korath shook his head slowly. I do not believe we can stop them. Not militarily. The humans have won too many battles. Their soldiers believe they can win. Their officers are experienced in actual warfare now. Every battle they fight makes them stronger and more experienced. Then what do you recommend? Vex asked. Surrender, Korath said simply. Accept their demands. Give them what they are asking for. If we continue this war, we will lose more ships, more soldiers, and more territory. The humans are willing to sacrifice for their cause. Are we willing to do the same? Vex understood the question. Korath was asking if the older species were willing to die for their pride. The answer was no. Species survived by adapting, not by dying in defense of old assumptions. Contact the human command, Vex ordered. Tell them we are willing to negotiate. But the humans did not want to negotiate peace. The humans wanted to renegotiate the entire galactic order. President Harris made her terms very clear in a broadcast that she sent to every corner of known space. The old council was finished. The old agreements were finished. Humanity wanted a new galactic organization where every species had equal voice and equal power. Humanity wanted fair trade agreements. Humanity wanted reparations for the colonies that had been destroyed. And humanity wanted respect. The galaxy pushed us because it thought we were weak, Harris said in her broadcast. Now the galaxy can see that we were never weak. We were patient. We were careful. We were planning. But patience has its limits, and limits have been reached. Military analysts from every species began studying human military tactics and technology more carefully. What they discovered shocked them. The human weapons were not just more advanced. They were designed with an understanding of how different alien species actually fought. The humans had studied them for years and had prepared specific counters for every species and every tactic. A Vreth engineer named Kalash studied human ship designs and made a discovery that stunned her. The humans had designed their weapons to be maintained and repaired quickly. They had designed their ships to be modified easily. They had designed their entire military to adapt and change based on what enemies did. This was not the design philosophy of a species preparing for one war. This was the design philosophy of a species that planned to fight many wars and intended to learn from each one. Kalash wrote a report that she sent to Admiral Ishara. The report had a simple conclusion. The humans do not think like we think. They do not plan like we plan. They prepare for failure and use it to plan success. We prepare to win once. They prepare to improve forever. Ishara read the report and understood the real problem. The humans were not just stronger. They were different. They thought about warfare in a way that older species had never thought about it. The council met for the final negotiation. Harris had sent General Cole to speak for humanity. Cole sat across from Vex and did not smile. Here are the terms, Cole said simply. You accept a new council structure where every species has power. You accept that human territories are human territories. You pay reparations for destroyed colonies. You accept that the Soren Dominion is banned from expansion until they prove they can behave responsibly. And you accept that humans will be the Galactic Defense Force. Any species that becomes aggressive will answer to humans. You are asking for too much, Vex said. No, Cole replied. We are asking for exactly what we earned through winning this war. You can accept these terms, or we can continue fighting until you have no choice but to accept them anyway. The humans will win either way. The question is whether the galaxy accepts this fact now or later. The Council accepted the terms. The war was over. Humanity had won. 3 months after the war ended, the first ships arrived at Kepler 452b to begin rebuilding the colony. The Sarn Dominion had destroyed it, but now multiple alien species worked together to restore it. The work was hard and dangerous, but it was necessary. The symbol of human suffering needed to become the symbol of human justice. Engineer Supervisor Donna Wright was part of the reconstruction team. She had left her job in the shipyard to help rebuild human colonies. She worked alongside Wreth engineers and even a few Sorn workers who had volunteered for the difficult task of repairing the damage their species had caused. The colony grew slowly. Families arrived to reclaim their homes. They planted new fields where old fields had been destroyed. They built new buildings where old buildings had been destroyed. And they built something else, a memorial to the people who had died in the attack. On the day the memorial was dedicated, President Harris arrived with General Cole. They stood in front of a wall that listed 8,000 names. 8,000 humans who had been killed when the Sorn Dominion attacked the colony without reason. Now those deaths meant something. They meant that humanity had finally stood up and demanded respect. Harris spoke at the memorial dedication. These people died for no reason except that the galaxy thought we were weak. The galaxy thought we would accept anything. The galaxy was wrong. Now we stand here as equals, and no one will ever make the mistake of thinking humans are weak again. In the Galactic Council chamber, something that had not happened in 2,000 years was happening. An entire new structure was being built. The old council, where only the oldest and most powerful species had real authority, was replaced by something different. A council where every species, young and old, powerful and weak, had genuine voice and genuine power. Ambassador Patricia Morton sat in the council as humanity's representative. She had fought for this for years, while others ignored her. Now the galaxy listened to what she said. Human interests mattered. Human voices were heard. The council made decisions about trade. It made decisions about war. It made decisions about exploration and expansion. And for the first time, humans sat at the table as equals, instead of sitting outside and hoping the powerful species would be generous. General Cole remained as the head of human military forces, but he also took a new position, commander of the Galactic Defense Fleet. He was responsible for protecting all species from aggressive invaders. He was responsible for maintaining peace in the galaxy. It was a position of incredible power, and it belonged to humanity because humanity had proven itself capable of handling that power wisely. Cole did not use his power to conquer. Instead, he used it to protect. When the Kesh, a distant species, began preparing to attack another species, Cole sent human ships to stop them. The Kesh surrendered immediately. They knew that humanity had defeated everyone else, and they were not foolish enough to challenge that power. When a natural disaster struck a Sarn colony, human ships arrived to help with rescue and reconstruction. The Sarn had been humanity's enemies, but that did not matter now. They were part of the galaxy, and humans protected all parts of the galaxy. Captain Daniel Foster and Admiral Cale met for the first time since the war began. Cale had abstained from the council vote that had denied human compensation for the Kepler 452b attack. Foster had wondered if Cale had been choosing not to help humanity or simply being neutral. Now Foster asked the question directly. "I did not vote against you," Cale said. "But I did not vote for you either. I was afraid. I did not believe humans could win against the entire galactic community." "But you warned me," Foster said. "You told me something was coming." "I knew the council was testing you," Cale replied. "I did not know that you were testing the council in return." Foster smiled. "We had to know our limits. We had to know if we were ready. The council showed us that we were." Cale extended his hand in the human gesture of peace. Foster took it. The war was truly over. Across human space, celebrations continued. Families gathered in colonies that had been rebuilt. Children grew up knowing that humans had fought for them and won. Schools taught the story of the war as a lesson in what determination and unity could accomplish. But there was something else that the galaxy learned from the human: victory. Humans did not conquer because they had defeated their enemies. Humans built alliances because they respected strength when they found it. When the Vreth proved they could adapt and learn from their mistakes, humans welcomed them as partners. When the Zorn agreed to real changes in their behavior, humans helped them rebuild. This was different from how older species behaved. Older species conquered and enslaved. Humans conquered and then built new partnerships based on respect and equality. Historians in a dozen species began studying human culture to understand this difference. They discovered something surprising. Humans had not learned to fight from nature. Humans had learned to cooperate. They had learned to build together. They had learned that diverse groups working together were stronger than individuals working alone. When humans fought, they fought to defend these things, not to destroy them. 1,000 years later, scholars would still study the human transformation of the galaxy. They would see it as the moment when the galaxy stopped being ruled by fear and started being ruled by justice. But in the immediate years after the war, people simply understood one thing: humanity had changed everything. And it had done it not by being the strongest, but by being willing to sacrifice for something better than strength, for dignity, for equality, and for the right to be respected. The war had been short. The peace that followed would last for generations. Humans had finally declared war, and the galaxy had learned its fatal mistake. Never underestimate a species that knows how to dream and is willing to die to make those dreams real.